GCF. So 2x to the fourth is a prime number, which means my only options are 2x and x. Because it's 2x to the fourth, they're both squared. That's the difference between 2x squared minus 7x minus 15 and 2x to the fourth minus 7x squared minus 15. My factors of 15 are 5 and 3 or 1 and 15. I'm guessing and checking here. But if I put a plus 3 here and a minus 5 here, okay, my middle term, 2x squared times negative 5 is negative 10x squared. 3 times x squared is 3x squared. Negative 10x squared and 3x squared is negative 7x squared. That's what the middle term is used for. On the outside, 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. 2x squared times x squared is 2x to the fourth. And now I'm setting both of these equal to 0. That's probably the more complicated part of this problem. Because when I set these equal to 0, now I got to solve for x. We subtract 3. We divide by 2. Now, once you divide by 2, we have x squared equals negative 3 halves. We have to take the square root of both sides. Since you're taking the square root of a negative, it's plus or minus I, but you split the radical up, root 3 over root 2, and you have to rationalize the denominator. Root 2 over root 2. So my answer is plus or minus I. Root 3 times root 2 is root 6. All right, so we multiply root 2 on the top and on the bottom, and we get root 6 on top and the root 2 on the bottom. Okay. Here, we're just adding 5 to both sides, and when we take the square root of both sides, we get x equals plus or minus root 5. And those are our two answers. All right, so when I go to factor here, 3x squared and x squared are on the first two spots. My factors of 8 are 4 and 2 and 1 and 8. By doing a minus 2 and a minus 4 here, negative 4 times negative 2 is 8. And then my middle term, 3x squared times negative 2 is negative 6x squared. Negative 4 times x squared is negative 4x squared. Negative 6x squared, negative 4x squared is negative 10x squared. Okay. Now, I'm going to set each parenthesis equal to 0. Now, what's nice about these two is you're not going to have any i's here. We add 4 to both sides. We divide 3, and we get x squared equals 4/3. Okay? Now I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So it's the square root of 4 over the square root of 3. Now the square root of 4 works out very nicely, and there's a plus minus in front of it. Square root of 4 is 2. And I'm left with a root 3. Once again, let me just put that plus minus down there a little bit better. Once again, the radical in the denominator, how do I get rid of it? I multiply the top and the bottom by that exact radical. So I'm left with plus or minus 2 root 3 on top over 3. Okay? The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 3 is root 3. To get rid of that radical, I'm multiplying the top and the bottom by the denominator, root 3 over root 3. When you multiply across, the radical goes away, and it's 2 root 3. This one's a little easier. X squared equals 2. When we take the square root of both sides, it's simply plus or minus root 2. And those are my 4 answers. All right. X to the fourth is an automatic x squared, x squared. So now, what are my factors of 18? My factors of 18 are 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. It's always easiest when there's a 1 coefficient in the front here. Of those 3 pairs of factors, which ones can I get to be a plus 3? Well, plus 6 minus 3. Because x squared times negative 3 is negative 3x squared. 6 times x squared is 6x squared. Negative 3x squared and 6x squared is a positive 3x squared. And now I'm setting these equal to 0. Now what's nice about these is there's no fractions. x squared equals a negative 6. We square root both sides. X equals plus or minus I root 6. Here, x squared equals 3. X equals plus or minus root 3. And those are my two answers. Here, this is probably the hardest factoring one, because I can see where you would try 2x and 2x first. It's kind of, 4 is one of those weird numbers where a lot of times the middle terms work the most. With 4, I feel like 4 and 1 happens as much as 2 and 2, and vice versa. So 4x and x is going to be the option. The factors of 21 are 7 and 3. We have to account for that initial term though. 4x times 7 is 28x. 3 times x is 3x. 28x and 3x is 31x. And there's my middle term. These we're dealing with x to the 4th, so we're going to square them. Okay. 4x squared plus 3 equals 0, and x squared plus 7 equals 0. So it's 4x squared equals a negative 3. X squared equals negative 3/4. Now this works out quite nicely. It's plus or minus I. When I break the radical up though, the square root of 4 is 2 on the denominator. I don't have to do any rationalizing. The answer is going to be plus or minus I root 3 over 2. Because the square root of 4 is 2. The radical's gone. Okay, remember the key is we can't have a radical in the denominator. That's what we're trying to avoid. Here, x squared equals a negative 7. When we take the square root of both sides, we get plus or minus I root 7. With these, what number goes in the box is what makes the parenthesis equal to 0. So in this case, 5, and then 2, negative 3, negative 29, negative 30. We're dropping the first term. 5 times 2 is 10. Negative 3 and 10 is 7. 7 times 5 is 35. Negative 29, 35 is 6. 6 times 5 is 30. Negative 30 and 30 is 0. So we're left with 2x squared plus 7x plus 6. So on this one here, I put my parentheses down, 2x and x. My factors of 6 are 3 and 2. I'm going to put the 3 here and the 2 here, and they're both positive signs in this case. I also have to write down my given factor. That needs to be next to it as well, because the answers are your zeros. Negative 3 halves, negative 2, and 5. If you can do that in your head, great. If you can, set each parenthesis equal to 0. X plus 2 equals 0, we have x equals negative 2. X minus 5 equals 0, and we have x equals 5. But this right here is your answer. Same thing down here to negative 4 in the box. 8, 30, negative 23, negative 60. Drop the 8. We get negative 32, and we get negative 2 here. Negative 2 times negative 4 is 8, and that's a negative 15 when we add. Negative 15 times negative 4 is 60, and that gives us our 0. So I'm left with 8x squared minus 2x minus 15. And now I'm factoring. My factors of 8 are 4 and 2, or 1 and 8. I'm always going to try my middle factors first. My factors of 15 are 5 and 3 and 1 and 15. I'm going to try those middle factors first. So it becomes a negative 3 and a positive 5 here. 2x times 5 is 10x. Negative 3 times 4x is negative 12x. 10x and negative 12x is a negative 2. I have to write down my third factor as well of x plus 4. The given one. So it's 3 halves, negative 5/4, and negative 4 is my answer. So in this case here, we have a 2, and it's 2, 1, negative 38, 41, and 30. Drop the 2, we get 4. 1 and 4 is 5, times 2 is 10, that's a negative 28. Negative 28 times negative 2 is negative 56, so that gives me a negative 15. Negative 15 times 2 is negative 30, we 2x and x go in the first part of the parentheses. Now I need to create a negative 5. I do that with a plus 1 and a minus 3 here. 2x times negative 3 is negative 6x. Plus 1 times x is x. Negative 6x and x is negative 5x. And then I need to copy down the given factors. So negative 1/2, 3, 2, and negative 5. All right, negative 3, 6, 5, negative 39, 4, and 12. Drop the 6, we have negative 18, we have negative 13. 39, that gives us a 0, that's okay. 0 times negative 3 is 0, we have 4, 4 times negative 3 is negative 12, and we get a 0 here. So, this is what we're talking about. That now, I'm going to use 2, my other factor. I'm using that depressed equation now and doing the same synthetic division. Dropping the first term, we get 12, that's a negative 1. Negative 2, we get a negative 2. Negative 4, and we get a 0. And now I'm left with something I can factor. 6x squared minus x minus 2. I'm going to use 3x and 2x first. 3x times 2x gives me my 6x squared. The factors of 2 are 1 and 2. Makes no sense to try the 2 here. So I'm going to put 2 here and 1 here. 3x times 1 is 3x. Negative 2 times 2x is negative 4x. 3x and negative 4x is my negative x. I also need to copy down my original factors. 2/3